We are back.
Yes, we are back.
This is Harmonized.
USA. Speaking of USA, this is Harmonized, right?
Yes, with Nina
and Kenya.
And today we have a special guest. But first, we talk about all things being black,
being a woman,
being a wife,
being a mother,
being a artist,
being a Christian.
Or something kind of like it.
Yeah,
and all the things. And we have a very, very special guest. We are so excited. We have Miss Tanesha Barnes.
Ooh, a big applause. A big applause. A big applause.
She is with us today. Tanesha, where are you?
Today I'm in Connecticut.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's a real big getaway if you live in New York. What did what was that Chris Rock's character? He was like, I don't know about you, but I'm going to Connecticut. When he was wanting to get away from Madagascar. I was like, everybody who's lived in New York has said that you have. I need a vacation. We all could use a vacation. I don't know about you. I'm going to Connecticut. Okay.
See, last episode we had Miss Zeta Rutledge on with us of Azori Jewelry Designs. And at the end of the episode, if you stuck it out all the way past the music, there was a little surprise. And you got to hear us telling us that we watch too much children's programming.
Yes.
Because Kenya always references
I do. I like me some Madagascar.
Children's programming.
Yeah. And speaking of traveling, Connecticut and Madagascar.
Well, we're going to let her introduce herself first before we just jump all in.
I know.
Tanesha, will you please, well, let me say this.
Okay.
So, Tanesha and I met via Facebook through a mutual friend, Marie. Marie getting the shout out.
Shout out to Marie.
And Marie kept posting all these pictures and videos. And I was like, wait a minute. When did Marie leave the country? I'm like, girl, where are you? What are you doing? And wait, this is like the second or third time you've done this. What is happening? And she's like, oh, girl, I go with this lady. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, wait a minute. I don't understand. What's happening? Like, I mean, we know each other. We've known each other for a long time. Like 12, 13 years. And, I know you had the glow up and everything, but I didn't know it was like that.
I know.
You international traveling. And she was like,
God.
oh, look, I'm going to introduce y'all. She your kind of people. And here's the thing about Marie. Marie knows that she just knows me well.
Yes.
If you listen to the podcast, you know me. Marie knows me.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, because I trust it. If Marie says that's your people, okay, that's cool. Because Marie don't tolerate everything and everybody.
That's right.
So
that's good. Marie is like this.
Right.
Marie has to be with a little baby face and hard as hell.
Right. She is hardcore.
Unfortunately, when you bring in Nina, you bring in me, and then I bring in all my cronies.
So we became Facebook friends. And when I tell you that I live for any and everything that Tanesha posts,
Do you understand?
I mean, like, yes, international travel. We all want to do it. The mystique, all of that. But this woman is a mother. She is an entrepreneur. And the way that I described you to Kenya, Tanesha, I was like, she just lives without fear.
Yes.
And
she's also in the Bible part too.
Right. And I'm like, tell us your ways, girl. Teach us your ways.
Yes.
I don't know if I know them. Oh, Lord. A lot of pressure.
No pressure.
But you hopped on a plane and went somewhere 13 hours on a plane at least. You all right. You can do everything.
Right. So we're gonna be quiet.
Okay.
We're gonna let Tanesha introduce herself. Tell us about you, Tanesha.
Oh, well, I am T Barnes of T Barnes Beauty. That's my main company, and it has organic skincare line, a vegan and mineral cosmetic line, and a bath and body line. And we have since kind of broken up the business. So now we also have T Barnes Global Travel, which is a separate company. And under that, we have the global trips that we take, which are typically filled with beautiful Black women.
Yes.
Now some men. So I'm like, girl.
You say beautiful Black women, that's us.
Yes, that's us.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
We need to go.
Yeah,
Harmonize goes on a trip. No.
Yes.
Under T Barnes Global Travel, we also have a global travel apparel line. So I've been really experimenting with fashion, maybe for the past 2 years, doing international, really manufacturing and trying to build relationships primarily between Africa and the diaspora. But I've been experimenting now with production a little bit of everywhere. So that's been exciting. And then within that, there's also a T Barnes Global Summer Camp. So that's a nonprofit. And I take kids, now we've really switched the ages from 18 to 24 abroad for the summer. And we go through some intense training, intellectual development, entrepreneurship and farming. And yeah, I'm into that.
Okay.
We have to be able to control our money and our food and our mind.
I love the website.
So that's what we try to give them. And I have Solace. And Solace, I have 2 boutiques in Anguilla. And there's now Anguilla in the Caribbean. And then there's now solaceboutiques.com. So now we have an online version. That's kind of what's going on. I'm somebody's mama.
Yes. All right.
And yeah.
Who also has a business, doesn't she?
She does. She has a candy business called sweetsolana.com.
What you say?
Ain't that something?
That is the cutest can be. How old is this baby? Don't tell me she's like 46.
She started her business when she was 6. She's 9 now.
Bless her little pea picking heart. Mine is 9 too. Bless her.
We did as a part of her. I pulled her out of school. You know, they wasn't trying to do right by my child. And so I homeschooled for a little while, and we started this. She started her business, and now it's a whole nother little animal.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
That is something else.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So I want to. There's a couple of things because we could talk about anything. We could be here for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I made myself.
But all of us do have children,
right? So I made myself come up with like 3 questions of things that I really want to get out to the listeners and selfishly for myself.
Yes.
Because I want to hear what you have to say about it. So I really want to know after Harvey and Irma and the other hurricane, all of them that just happened.
Shaniqua.
She said Shaniqua.
She didn't come yet. Let's hope she don't come.
She's gonna be the real one, right?
That's a real hurricane,
right? But after all of those things happened, you did a huge campaign, Water for Anguilla, but there was one post that you did in particular that I was just like, this woman is a poet too. Do you know you're a poet? You're a writer. When's the book? But you were talking about like the way that being there helped you redefine home, and that the waters of Anguilla healed you, and being from a place with lots of water, I connected with that immediately. And so can you just talk about like the importance of finding home, in yourself, and connected to the travel and being out in the diaspora and all of that?
So basically, I started traveling really young. So I started traveling at 16. I decided to do this. They offered this program at high school right after the Cold War, and I went to Russia. And that kind of just opened up everything, like I was scared. My mama was like, get off the bus, baby. It's okay. You don't got to go.
Right.
And I'm glad I did it because I think it opened me up.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized with myself is like America really, even when I was 12, I used to cry about what was happening to Black folks in the US. I don't like it's always weighed really heavily on my soul. And so travel was kind of always my way to escape, maybe, you know, and to relieve some of the pressure. Because I don't think that most Black people even really consider the daily pressure of what it is to be Black in America and how it affects so much of your everyday living, just psychologically and spiritually. And I started to see like I would feel so much relief, like so much relief from just not being in this space. And I call it, I need new air. So
Yes.
every few months I'll be like, okay, it's time for some new air. And you know, so I think travel was like that for me. But I started really traveling heavy probably like 2014, 2015. And after this like Trayvon Martin stuff and that stuff, it took me someplace. And I think that I just I was really done. You know, I was really trying to figure out alternatives for my child. Like what do I want her to feel? You know, and intellectually, like I have a beauty business, but I'm also an academic. So I have been in grad school for history and I've been in grad school for teaching for social justice. So I had these 2 master's degrees and I was always writing or thinking about these spaces politically. And I think for me, it just became something that was more, I needed to figure out how to live differently. And so Anguilla kind of came up out of the blue. Like I was on this tour that I just happened to end up on around the Caribbean. And I was opening up new accounts and, you know, my business does really well in the Caribbean. And I ended up on this island. It was maybe my 3rd speaking engagement on the tour. And I was like, I like it here. You know, like this is cool. But Anguilla's dope. It's like, it's one of the last frontiers. It's 95% Black owned. And I mean, when people think about the Caribbean, I don't think they realize that's, you know, it's filled with Black bodies, but so much ownership of businesses and real estate and, you know, is not Black owned. And Anguilla is one of those places that, I mean, 95% Black owned is, I mean, it's just not, it's the last, you know, there's not many spaces like that. People own their land, you know? And so I thought that it was like, oh, okay, this fits with my politics. And they just kind of embraced me. But I feel like also just the Caribbean, like we need these spaces as Americans. We need these places where we can get to them easily. You know, Africa's still 8, 9, 10 hours away, you know, but you can get to the Caribbean really quickly and you can recover yourself. And I think that is an important tool. And I think that there's some development things that we can all be doing together. So that's kind of, and the water for Anguilla, the drive to get water is just, I mean, this is an island where I feel like, you know, it's a complicated little island. It's small and people are people anywhere you go. You know? But I've been shown a lot of love on that island and I've gotten a lot of support to do all the kind of things I want to do. And I wasn't there. And it's just, you feel like it's your family and you can't imagine people without, I mean, there's still people that don't have electricity right now. You know, and so, so we did the drive. And I mean, the wonderful part about probably being more of an activist than a business person is that I know how to mobilize people. And we got 17,000 cases of water in a week.
Wow. Wow.
So it was dope. It was dope.
Yes.
So that's what travel for me is a big part of. It's a big part of my life.
Okay. Listen, new air. I love it.
It's funny because when I think about getting the travel bug, and I get it often, and I get it very often. I call it, you know, just I guess following the ventana, or just like I feel like there's a gypsy spirit within me. That's what it feels like for me. And so I envision that, you know, all of my family could travel the way that I want, because I want to travel now. I can't, you know, I can or I can't. I don't know. This is what I'm going to talk to you about.
We have ulterior motives.
Yes. I feel as if I cannot just pick up and leave like that when I want to, but I do know it's possible to do it because.
Well, you just did it.
Well, yeah, I did.
You just did it. You and Joseph had a little getaway.
We had a little
Canada
getaway, but
real
we
quick.
we had to plan, and that was a big deal for me to get my passport again and to get all of that. We have all of these big plans, and then the next time I'm trying to travel out the country, I'm pregnant for the first time. I'm 35 years old. I'm not sure about being on a plane, pregnant for my first baby to go to Paris because to eat eggs that I'm probably gonna throw back up. I don't know. So, it's those little pieces of fear that start to infiltrate after a while. Well, now the kids are a little older, and I am setting my sights on, there's places that I would love to take and that I've been, Costa Rica or Japan, Africa, so I guess my question is what kind of fears can you help for people like me to get over to get back into the game of traveling?
I mean, I think that I try not to be, there's a lot of travel snobs in the world, traveling. And I understand, there's all these barriers to people's lives. I run my business, so I don't have a job.
Right.
Jobs and these things come into play. But I do think that figuring out how you can be creative with it, because we all have gifts. And I think one of the things that I really realized is that I could utilize the gifts that I have in those countries and also to generate income. There's a lot of ways that you can think about it. And especially for our kids, they have to experience themselves outside this.
I agree with you. Yeah. Absolutely.
It tells them something about themselves that they need to understand themselves. I mean, Black nations are one thing because you constantly live on the periphery of American society. Right. And when you're in a Black nation, you're the center of that conversation. And I think that changes your perspective as a kid. Yeah. But even if you're traveling to other places that aren't necessarily Black nations, it's a different kind of way that people interact with you. And
they do.
Exist everywhere. All of these things exist, but the American historical context is very, very specific, and our relationship to it, is heavy. And we don't have to live like that all the time. But I think that if you're having people think that things are inaccessible, and that's what because child, I ain't got
no money. Say that.
Talk about it.
I know, right? You get a train ticket and some wine and a tuna fish crackers and go. That's how I used to travel.
I think that there's always ways. What I do is I try to make travel affordable and accessible. So a lot of my trips, people are purchasing and they're able to pay little by little by little over the course of the year. And so that's one way. There's also there's house swaps. If there's a person in France that wants to come visit your state, you can swap houses with them. I mean, there's so many different ways to experience the world right now that it's almost like you can get travel trips. I mean, tickets for you just have to be on these sites that are constantly sending you prices.
Yeah. Okay. I'm learning that now.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways to figure out how to explore the world. Yeah. And I think for our spirits, it's like one of those things where, I'm an esthetician, so people come to me and, they think about facials maybe as a luxury, when really it's a part of your maintenance, right? Yeah. And I think travel is like that. We think about it.
I'm going to get maintenanced right now. I need maintenance.
It's true. And you need spiritual. You need rejuvenation. You need new environments. You need, I mean, it's the same way that you need new friends every once in a while. You need, to meet new people. And I think travel is one of those things. It opens you up in a way that I don't think that there's many ways that you can be open. In the way that travel opens you up.
That's so true. How did you, so when you went at 16 years old, can you tell me what you felt when you came back to the States? Because Russia is, I mean, Russia, that's your first trip out of the U.S. I can only imagine some of the things that you've learned about yourself coming back.
Right.
Well, Russia, it was interesting at that time, and Russia is very different now. It has, because it's opened up, its ideas around race has changed and, all of those things. But at that time, first of all, it was an opportunity. And one thing I went to every other Black student because they were giving, it was a part of this new Cold War, end of the Cold War effort. So it was free. The government paid for it, and you had to take Russian. So you take Russian. You're in high school. You ain't got shit else to do. Take Russian. I went to all of my friends like, let's take Russian so we can go to Russia. And it was free. So there was and that was the interesting thing. There was no economic barrier to this. There was a mental barrier.
Right.
And none of them felt like they wanted to do it. And I ended up, of course, being the only Black person on this trip and in the class because I was willing to take that risk and do it. And I honestly, I think that we get caught up in more of the mental blocks around things than we do because there's so many ways right now to do,
Yeah, no,
it
makes sense.
I came back feeling different. I felt like, wow, like people would give me little gifts on the street, like they were very, very curious about me.
Right.
And it was to me, I felt like it was a life-changing. I think that I wouldn't be the same person. Yeah. And also Russians are very different. Like I like they're very straightforward. Like,
yes they are.
Okay. And that's what it is. Where Americans are kind of like fluffy. They like to massage things and say what it is that it ain't.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the way that they roll.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like my first trip out of the country, I was 18, 19, graduated from undergrad. And I had done a year here, I undergrad in New Orleans, did a year in Cleveland, as an acting intern at the Cleveland Playhouse. And then I went and did the grad school, cattle call audition, ERTA, and there was a school from London there. And so I went in, and one of my pieces was in a British accent, and they were not really giving anybody, like any Americans, any holler. They were like, yeah, whatever, we're here because we have to be.
Okay.
And so I started my piece, and the dude, I realized before I started that the dude at the table was the dude that started the school. Because like his picture was on everything.
Oh my God.
And so it just made me go ultra focused. Like I can't think about that. I just have to do my pieces,
Yeah, right.
And at this point I had done like 60 auditions that day. So I was just swarmed. I was just like, kick them out. And I started, and that British accent came out of my mouth, and he looked up because he wasn't looking at anybody. He was doing the Simon, I'm just going to write and not pay attention to him. And he looked up and he looked at me. And, so I wound up going to this like 3.5 week intensive. Basically, they wanted me to come to the grad school, but they weren't sure. So they wanted to watch how I worked. Is basically what it was, But this program was international. So there was students from Japan, from Sri Lanka, from Detroit, from Germany, from Vienna. I mean, just everything. And it, we were all living in this beer garden, for the duration of the thing. And it blew my mind because people were like, oh, as students, while you're studying, studying theater, it's like, oh my God, you're going to be an actor. That is the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. Are y'all doing a show? When's your show? No, I'm going to get tickets right now, And I was like, but that's how it was. And it's like that, like we said, we're going to be actors. And to them, it was the way people in America reacted if you said you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like there was just, they had a level of respect for the craft. And they were like, oh, that's brilliant.
I know, you were like,
I was like, thank you. It is brilliant. Right. Right. They're like, this is wonderful. No, tell us when your show is. We're coming to your showcase, And they came. That was the other thing. They actually came.
Wow.
Which people in America always say, oh, girl, I'm going to come see you.
They ain't coming.
They ain't coming.
They don't show up. And they be like, oh, I missed it.
Next time.
Right, next time. And, but it was like a whole different world. I mean, because the farthest I had been was Mississippi, Virginia, and then I spent my year in Cleveland, and maybe one or two other places that we traveled to, when I was at Dillard, but it, it was largely not only it wasn't that far, it was the South, it was all deep South, which is his whole own thing, and then
you gotta be prepared to go traveling there.
Listen, and then to go across the pond,
oh yes,
and have all the people be like, hey, and do the things, and But I did, like you said, I came back changed. I came back different. Like, no, what I'm doing is legitimate. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
It's not only legitimate, it's important.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. You're talking about change, how it changes you, how it changes. Now, my is a little different. We are so close to Canada. Back during. I don't know. Where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Oh, you're from Texas. Oh, okay, so you're right. Oh, go on then. Oh, my exes live in Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. Okay.
She got a song for everything, I promise.
Child, I'm loving the hat too. Okay, I'm gonna have to come in. That's why I need to go and get my hat and my boots.
Okay.
Not cynical. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I am close to Canada. So what we would do, because we didn't have a whole lot of money either.
Yeah.
But my parents they love to migrate. They move their own, they like to move.
Look, we tried to go to Kenya's house one night for something, and they were like, "Oh, we on our way back." It's like, where y'all coming from? Toledo.
Why? Oh, because they have this restaurant. We like the lobster there.
Like, oh, so y'all just got up and drove 3 hours to Toledo today. Okay.
They do that kind of stuff all the time. Especially my mom. Like, oh, we went to Canada. What? Why? For lunch. For lunch?
Right.
I aspire, so I'm trying to be like that. But we would, before we needed passports, we would go to Canada, and that was like our out of the country experience as a family. And then I think when I was my first official trip was to Japan, out of the country. I mean, we'd done the Bahamas, we'd done all of that, which was great. I think again, even that changes you. All of that of the Caribbean islands. Especially when you come from, a beach, Lake Erie, where all the fish are dead, and you have to hop over dead fish into a pile of mold and God knows what else to have fun, to play in the water with the seaweed hanging all off the side of your face like that, So when I went to the Bahamas, I was like, oh, snap. I will never go to another lake, pond ever again. But my real thing was going to Japan, and I was like, okay, this is not, there's not that many black bodies there. I don't know if there's that many white bodies there. Right. And when I went, I was like, okay, Kenya, you're going to be the tallest, darkest thing over there. Because my thought was, what about the racism? How am I going to handle that? And then myself said to myself, oh, you handle it just fine in America. You should be fine in another country. So if they called you Godzilla or something, don't get upset, because just suck it up, suck it in, and stay next to your friends. So I was going geared up. So when I got to Japan, and I bothered to learn the language and learn all of the customs and all of that kind of stuff and how they do, this and that, because I know it's very particular. When I got there and I was with my friend and her family, I wasn't prepared for the honor that I was receiving. Mm-hmm. I really wasn't. Like, it got to the point where it really kind of just deeply disturbed me that they were so kind to me, that people were giving gifts. I know it's their custom, but they were really giving gifts. And my mom had told me, because my parents had traveled before, and they were like, you got to go, we're sending you, here's $500, you got to work your way off the rest of it, but you're going. So she was like, make sure you take lots of little gifts. They love gifts, so I'm coming over there doing what their customs were, giving gifts and things like that. And they were just like, whoa, she's so polite. She's American? She's so polite. She's trying to speak the language. And they just were so, everything was in my honor. You walk down the street, we are feeling so honorable that whatever. I couldn't take it. So
I didn't know how to act because I was like, I feel like a princess. I feel like a human being, and I don't know how to take that. And then when I got my butt back on the plane to Detroit to go through customs, and I saw the America that people who don't live in the States see. I saw, you know, the they don't call them stewardesses anymore. The flight attendant. Like when you go there, even the flight attendant was different. The flight attendants were, you know, going there. They were very nice. They were kind. They were, you know, if they felt any kind of way about you, they never did show it. But coming back, I'll never forget this one lady, blonde. Not saying all blonde people are like this. I'm just saying this is what I saw. She was blonde, lots of red lipstick all around her face, blue eyes, lashes, and she was like, "Can I get you anything else? Anything else?" Very sarcastic. "Can I get you anything else?" "Okay, thanks." You know, and I was like, "Hey, I picked up on that. You don't like people. You do not like people." Hey, you know, and she was like that with all of us, you know, and then we went through customs, and that was a whole big thing because I'm the only brown girl getting off the plane. And it was like, "Japan? What you been in Japan for?" "You must have some drugs." And that was the first time that I, you know, because I didn't know my rights, I was put back into the room. Like, those were the scary things that happened that almost ruined my entire trip. Was traveling, not knowing my rights. But the fact that I was treated so royally by regular people, you know, that just overrode that other ugly part of it. You know. And it really did. It changed me. It changed my perspective forever.
You'll see yourself different.
Yeah.
So so with that's a good segue, you know, and being able to see yourself different as you raise Solana. Like, what are the things that you've learned that, you know, how are the way? Well, you already said you took her out of a particular school because they weren't giving her what you wanted her to have, you know. And my nephew's father is from Trinidad. And he and my sister are no longer married, but, you know, they co-parent very well. And my nephew travels with him, you know, often, so he can see all of his family there. And, you know, one of the things that we talk about all the time is how important she feels that is for him, for his self-actualization, because there's something about seeing a place, like you said, where, like, Anguilla has, you know, it's owned by the Black people. The leaders are Black. The educators are Black. You know, she's like, there's something about his self-actualization that I need him to experience that now as a child and be able to see a place, you know, that is the reality. So as you raise Solana, like, what are some of the things you desire for her, you know, that you have learned along the way? Like, if you, let me make it easier, because I know I asked these big, broad, sweeping.
I know, I'm like, I'm being like, let me write that down.
Right.
Hold on.
If there were like 2 or 3 things that you could say, I know if I give her this, then she'll be okay. If I can give her these 2 or 3 things, like, this is what my desire for her is as a parent.
Well, I mean, I think that before in our household, you know, I respect Solana. And I think that that's a very different approach to parenting than we're used to as Black people. You know, she's a real human being, and she has these really fascinating, independent ideas of me. And that's developing as she gets older. And so I think I really kind of looked at my childhood, which was brilliant and wonderful and safe. I felt really safe.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I did. You know, my parents did everything they could to make sure that we had the things that we needed. And so that feeling of safety, and it was different because I came into motherhood in a different way. I, you know, was left pregnant and all these different things. And so I was kind of going through my own self-actualization. But I think in that process, what I realized is that I had, in order for myself to heal, I had to kind of let go of what I thought it was supposed to look like.
Right.
And once yeah, girl, you got to let it go. Yeah. And then once I realized I did that, then I started to create and shape this life with Solana and I of what I thought it could be, you know, where I didn't necessarily have a roadmap for it. And I still don't. Girl, I make this shit up as I go.
The ultimate creation.
But I know that I wanted Solana to be educated a certain way. I think that one of the things that I pride myself on, and I think I've learned, is that, you know, I try to be a really free thinker. And I think that critical thinking and historical context and like being an intellectual in this space as Black people is going to be crucially important for us, because I just see so many people suffering from mental enslavement. And it's a suffering. Like, it's not that, it's like not it can't be easy to be trapped that way, you know. And so education is probably the number one first thing that I really think about. In my own household, what am I showing her as a woman? What am I teaching her about freedom? And I have to adjust kind of what I like, you know, if I want something my way and she wants something her way, and like, without, you know, I don't want no kid running around no store acting like they're crazy.
Right.
You got to pull out the traditional.
I'm still a Black mama, but you know, within the realms of understanding that she's capable. And so in our household, you know, it's different than what I think most people are used to in a lot of Black households that I see, in terms of just respecting her as an individual and as a human. And then beyond that, you know, how she's educated, I really put a lot of time into that. You know, I think about the stuff. I try to pre-read the books that they're giving her. And I do a lot of stuff in the household for the first, I think from the time maybe she was like 5 and 6 or 4. Yeah, like 5 and 6, I had a homeschool and I had like 15 kids, and, you know, people would come over. And I think that I was able to give her the alternative information that she really needed to be able to process. And even now I have her at the Waldorf, which is a quirky little school, very hippie-ish, but, you know, it's certain values that I care about. I care about my kid being kind. You know, I care about my kid being thoughtful about the environment. I care that, you know, she's creative and artistic and approaches, you know, that she's approaching information in a particular way. So I spent a lot of time thinking about her education. And then the travel part, you know, Solana travels with me. She doesn't get to go as much outside of the Caribbean as I do. So she hasn't been in Africa and Asia and that type of thing yet. And that's just mostly because she's in school now and it's a little different. But every summer she goes to Anguilla, and it's so fascinating to watch her, because here is this. So she's already got an identity crisis, because she'll tell people I was born in Connecticut, but I'm from Texas. Texas, a day in her life, child, a day in her life. But she understands herself. Like, we come from a very big family. I have 6 generations of my family alive.
Wow.
Something of us in my generation. Yeah, we have a legacy. You know, 185 acres of land. You go and play out in the red dirt. You come home covered from head to toe in dirt. You know, that stuff was important for me growing up. And I had the benefit of growing up with my great-grandparents, my grandparents, and my parents.
Okay.
And it really defined me. And so the idea that Solana still feels this really strong connection, and she goes, and, you know, that's important to me too. It's a rootedness. And I see the difference, because, you know, I'm in the North now, and all the North people don't get mad at me, but I do see a disconnection. You know, like I definitely see a difference when you're born in a Southern context. You have family in a different way. And most of the people in the North, we forget, like, these are people that ran away from enslavement. They were by themselves. You know, they had to create systems to protect themselves, to fit in, to, you know, integrate into society in a way that maybe wasn't healthy. And so
you're right.
I think that I moved through the world differently in a rootedness, and I wanted her to have that same rootedness. And then the last thing is probably entrepreneurship. You know, I want her to be in control of her money. And, you know, one of the things, my dad was retired from IBM as a CIO. And I grew up watching this whole corporate game, and I know the mask that you have to wear.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not in me.
Come through.
Right.
I tell people my code switching software has ceased to update.
I don't think I ever had a code switch ever. I've always been on
code switching, and I just think it's detrimental to your overall humanity.
Yeah.
And I knew from a young age that wasn't going to be the route that I was going to go. But it's not easy. Like, even though I own a business, you know, you get passed by for certain things because people think you're too political. I mean, I say what I want to say. I say the things that I think are necessary for our community to be thinking about. I talk about race. I talk about class. I talk about gender. And you can make people upset with that. And I mean, you could get, you know, I think now I'm in a better position. It's very interesting because like 10 years ago, I would have been, you know, not in a position to be sitting down with hedge funds, and not in a, because they would have been way too scared of me. But now, because there's a global conversation about these things, it's almost like, okay, you're spot on now. Now companies aren't scared to talk about these things. And so it even becomes more attractive if you have a brand that says, look, I care about Black women and I don't want them bleaching their skin. And these are the reasons why I think white supremacy don't work.
Yes.
Come on.
I wish I could high five you. Push.
Yeah. I mean, that's
different.
That is so beautiful.
It is. And
I'm so inspired by you because, well, I think we talked about this earlier, you and I. We were talking about having you. Nina was saying we should have Tanesha on the show, and I was like, and I said, "Oh yes, this is the person who travels a lot." And she said, "Yes," and she said, and I said, "Oh well, we should do something like some places that you could go to travel," because I had turned into, you know, Marie Claire, you know, Vogue magazine, you know, the typical really bad stuff they sell you on the magazine. 10 places you should travel for Thanksgiving, you know, that kind of stuff. And she was like, "No, we're here to talk about that." Anybody can talk about that. That's some boo. We want to talk about the fear that you have to overcome to get out of your boundary. I was like, yeah. Oh, God, what? Don't finish that. Don't finish that sentence. But yes. So, you know, so in just talking to you and seeing your beautiful skin and your line that I'm
ain't
looking
she gorgeous?
at. Oh, my gosh, yes. I'm looking at stuff that I have. But anyways... But yes, but it's great because it feels so in tune to what we talk about all the time and what we want, what we are going, what we're processing, what we're in the process of doing, and where we intend to go with it. And so it kind of helps me to see, oh, you're on the right track. You know, there's other women out there who actually think outside of the box. And so if you feel like you're alone, you're not, because Tanesha here will tell you to get out the damn box. Get out the box.
I mean, I think most people want to be free, I think. I mean, that may not be true. I actually, maybe that's not true. Maybe people don't want to be, because it's harder.
They don't know. But like what you were saying with the mental barriers.
say that again.
This is a harder road. You know, you have to be really strong to be yourself and to say things that people don't like to hear. Right. And you have to, I mean, I own myself, and that offends a lot of people.
Right.
Come on, we've been free.
Right.
Come on,
Sojourner.
Come on.
That's what she said.
Well, you know, and so that leads us right into the last thing. If you don't stop.
Change my name.
I'm telling you, the fact that we get through anything ever is a miracle. But the last thing and we've been touching on it throughout, but we talk a lot on the show about keeping your toolkit sharp, you know, so not to focus on, you know, the fear and the real kind of not limitations, but the realities that people have in their life when you own yourself, you know, and you are working very purposefully and deliberately to remain free. Like, what's your toolkit? You know, like I talk about my team all the time. You know, like I got my bestie, I got my hubby, I got my trainer, who's also my cousin, I got my therapist, I got my sister. You know, it's like, so I have, you know, like I have a team, and I go to different parts of the team, you know, plus whatever else I'm doing for myself. To help me stay in it, because it is harder. I mean, it's hard to say I am not only going to be married and have this marriage look the way we want it to look, regardless of what you think about it, because you ain't living it. It's us.
That's right.
So we got to work this out the way we work it out, and I don't care if you understand it or not.
Right.
2, I'm going to have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And still be an actor, and I'm crazy enough to believe that I'm good enough that Ava DuVernay is my tribe.
Yeah.
And you know,
we know you know Ava, and we know Oprah too.
Oprah is my tribe. You know, it's like I'm genius level stuff, and I believe that, and I don't care what
By
anybody
the way,
else.
I want Debbie Allen to know I know you. I want you to know, Debbie Allen, I know you.
But you know, not just in a sense of like, you know, I want to be famous or anything. Like, it's not about that. It's about they do the work that speaks to me. Right. And I believe that I am good enough to work in league with them, period. And that's what it is. And yes, I don't live in LA and I don't live in New York. And who knows how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there. My route has never been straight from A to B, you know, so it's happening, and I'm working on it purposefully. And, you know, me and my husband had a little tune-up yesterday about it.
That's a great word.
Yeah, it was a tune-up. He little fire under me, but you know, I have tools. So what are some of Tanesha's tools? What's in your toolkit?
One of my hashtags, I have t-shirts that say I create reality.
Ooh.
And I think that it's really true. I think that at some point you have to accept who you are. And once you accept that and you say, okay, and I'm going to create this reality. And I knew that I wanted to live different. You know, I'd lived for 5 years in Italy. And I think what you learn is how to live. Like this whole idea of like, you know, like you go to work, you take a siesta, you make love in the middle of the day.
Yes, come on.
Have a little lunch, you go back to work, you come home, you go to the grocery store every day, you know. And I realized like, oh, but you could actually live like this anywhere you are. You have to be, I'm willing, but I'm also willing to do the work.
Yes.
So you know, like I sleep because I know that that's a part of self-care. But you know, I work really hard, and I'm I'm committed to the life that I have created, and I'm creative enough to be able to see those things through. And I don't fall or give up or quit because shit don't work out.
Right.
That's time. Right. Because eventually it does. And I think one of the hardest things is that the people that love you the most are scared for you, right? Because they're scared for them. Right. And because they're scared for them, they want to then put these boundaries on how you see the world, your voice, you know, even attachments, you know, like, you know, if you keep writing these things on Facebook, well, what they gonna do? Black women make me my money. Right. Okay. And honestly, like, I mean, the interesting thing is that I think I started to see that we are the market. Yes, so you can't control me with your money. Right. And when people can't control you with their money, because that's really what America does. It controls you with the cash. Right. Then your voice is then free. And I have so much support in my business for years and years and years from Black women that, you know, hold me down, and they support my business and they buy my products, and my products are also excellent. Right. So like, I'm not coming to the market saying, well, here, buy my little raggedy ass scrub. The labels that I print out my computer, you know, like I don't come to you like that. Right. And so I think like what happens is that when you work in excellence, and then you work and you just do the work, and you do it even when you're failing, and you do it even when you don't think you're going to make money, it always works out. You're not going to lose your house. You just keep through. And you know what? You might lose your house. and that shit go. Get a condo and call it, like, do something else. Like,
Right.
but just keep doing the things that you're doing.
Right.
And now it's interesting because all of those obstacles, or what looked like obstacles then, are now some of the strengths of what I have now.
Yes.
And even that voice, everything that they were like, you're not going to get funding. No one is going to pick you up.
Oh my gosh.
It's the political messages that build my clan.
Right.
You know, it's like and my people don't all agree with me. We all have very different opinions, but the idea is that I've built a community of people for T Barnes Beauty and all of the other entities of intellectual, spiritually driven, passion driven Black women.
Yes.
And but you got Black women on your side, boo. You can't lose. I mean, it's
Come on, listen to Black women.
I'm gonna dance. Excuse me
Black
while I
women.
dance.
She gonna create a whole choreography for it.
Is that the praise dance? Is that a praise?
Girl, I don't know what that is. It is nuts.
Praise dance. Oh my
So, you know, be free. Do you? Stay strong.
Be free. Stay strong.
But also, you know, heal. A lot of Black women are healing. You know, I will, let me tell you, whatever it takes. I was in therapy for 1.5 years. I will do Reiki every week. I will, anything that it takes for me to come back to center. You know, when I'm in a relationship that I don't think is working for me, I'm not going to let you kill my spirit. You know, like there's tools that you have to do to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, you exercise those tools for you. I'm learning a lot more to protect my energy. And I haven't always done that, you know, because I'm affected. I'm not one of those women that'll be like, oh, things bother me. They hurt me. They hurt me sometimes to my core. But I'm learning how to self-protect. But I'm constantly healing. And then I want other people to heal. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna have to go to the healing waters of Anguilla. I think that'll make me really heal. I don't know if I need to be healed, but I'm going to.
Girl, those salt waters.
Yes. I think I need to ride a horse. I want to ride a horse along the beach if he don't poo-poo, you know. Then go into the waters. Not have to hop over the dead fish. Which, by the way, things have changed. The waters here in Cleveland are much cleaner. I did go to Minter Headlands Beach, so I'm not going to dog Minter Headlands no more because it was real clean and beautiful. But still, it's something about those waters.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be over there. Yeah. Me and my family.
I'll see you this summer.
That's right. Thank you.
Well, Tanesha, thank you, girl, so much.
Thank you so much
for your time.
Yes.
It has been,
and your words.
Yes, amazing.
I need to hear that today.
Right?
We just had church like a couple of seconds ago.
Look, the church is not the building.
That's right.
It is the community with 2 or 3 are gathered in agreement. Hello. Amen.
Hello.
Amen and Ashe. Okay? Oh my goodness. We will make sure that that we post links to all of your fabulous businesses in the show notes. Look at her. But we will post links and let people know like where they can find you and follow you and connect with you. And we can talk off script about like what you want them to know, like if you want them Facebook or you know which networks you want them to hit you on.
Because you know she ain't got time for y'all. She is at the beach right now. She cannot. She finna go to Morocco tomorrow. She ain't got time for y'all. Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Marrakesh.
It has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes.
So we ended.
Yes.
Okay. Well, get your throats ready.
Yeah, because you gotta join in on the final hum.
Ready?
This is what all the guests do.
Here we go. Ready? Hey, Tanesha.